The Blackwood River ran wild that October night. Its surface is a churning mass of white water, swallowing the forest edge in a muddy roar. Aaron Rios gripped the steering wheel as rain hammered his windshield. Grace was asleep in the back seat after her soccer practice in town. He was taking the mountain route home, the one that cut through the valley. "Daddy, are we almost there?" Grace mumbled, half awake. "Almost, baby. Close your eyes." The headlights caught it first, a sleek black sedan swerving violently on the bridge ahead. Aaron's instincts flared before his mind caught up. The car clipped the guardrail. Metal screamed. Then it plunged into the river below. Aaron slammed the brakes. "Stay in the car." He turned to Grace, his voice sharp with command. "Lock the doors. Don't open them for anyone." His boots hit the wet pavement. The sedan was already sinking, headlights disappearing into black current. Through the rain-streaked window, he saw her, a woman's pale face pressed against the glass, eyes wide with terror. Aaron didn't hesitate. He vaulted over the bridge railing and dove into the freezing darkness below. "Before we continue, please tell us where in the world you are tuning in from. We love seeing how far our stories travel." The water was cold. Aaron swam hard toward the sinking car. Inside was Rosie Smith, his boss, the woman who hired him 6 months ago to maintain her estate. She was trapped, and the water was rising fast. Aaron tried the door, but it was locked. He punched the window 3 times before it broke. Water rushed into the car. Rosie panicked and fought him, but Aaron grabbed her and pulled her out. He kicked them both up to the surface. They were both coughing and gasping. The current tried to drag them away, but Aaron spotted some rocks. He pulled Rosie toward them and got her up onto the biggest one. She collapsed there, coughing up river water. Aaron climbed up next to her and immediately started looking around. His truck was still on the bridge with Grace inside. She was safe. That was good. But then Aaron looked at the guardrail where the car went off. It wasn't bent from the crash. It was cut clean through. Someone had done this on purpose. Rosie was shaking and soaking wet. She looked up at Aaron, and he saw fear in her eyes. Not fear of drowning. Fear of him. Because when he pulled her from that car, she felt how smooth he moved. How controlled. Like someone who had done dangerous things before. Aaron asked if she was okay. His voice came out too calm. Not like a regular gardener who just saved his boss. Rosie stared at him and asked who he really was. Before Aaron could answer, 2 black SUVs appeared on the road above them. No headlights. Moving fast. Aaron told Rosie they needed to move right now. He pulled her off the rocks and into the trees. The SUVs were already coming down the access road. Aaron's cabin was 2 miles upstream, but first they needed to get Grace. He called her and told her to start the truck and drive forward as he taught her. She was only 7, but she did exactly what he said. Aaron and Rosie moved through the woods. Aaron heard the SUV doors opening behind them. Men were talking in Russian. Aaron's stomach dropped. He hadn't heard Russian in 5 years. Not since he left his old life and disappeared. Rosie stumbled, but Aaron caught her. She told him those men ran her off the bridge. Aaron said he knew. She asked how he knew. He said because they weren't looking for a body. They were looking for her alive. They reached Aaron's truck, where Grace had it waiting. Aaron threw Rosie in the back and told Grace to slide over. He got behind the wheel and drove without headlights, using back roads he had memorized. Grace asked what was happening. Aaron told her Miss Smith had a car accident, and they were helping her. Grace looked worried but didn't argue. They drove for 20 minutes on logging trails until they reached Aaron's cabin. It looked like a regular hunting cabin from the outside, but Aaron had made serious changes. Bulletproof windows, reinforced doors, a hidden room under Grace's floor with supplies. He parked behind the cabin, and they went inside. Aaron sent Grace upstairs to get ready for bed. When she was gone, he turned to Rosie and told her to sit down and tell him everything. Rosie said he wasn't really a handyman. Aaron said no, he wasn't. He used to work for people who did secret things, dangerous things. Then he had crack, and he got out, started over. Rosie said the men who ran her off the bridge were professionals. Aaron said he knew, because he used to be one too. Then Rosie explained the truth. She was a CEO, but her company had been tracking a criminal network. People are stealing government secrets and selling weapons technology. She'd been gathering evidence for 2 years, pretending to be one of them. But someone found out she was working with the FBI, so they sent killers after her. Aaron asked what she needed. Rosie said she had proof on an encrypted drive hidden in her office, but she had to upload it from her office computer within 48 hours, or everything she'd done would be worthless. The system required her fingerprint and eye scan. She had to be there physically. Aaron pointed out that her office was probably being watched by the same people who tried to kill her. Rosie said yes. Aaron said that was great, really sarcastic. But Rosie stood up and walked over to him. She said if she didn't upload that evidence, more people would die. These criminals were selling technology that could start wars, kill thousands of people. Then Rosie asked Aaron if he would help her, even knowing she'd been lying about who she was this whole time. She asked him directly, would he stay if she took her clothes off? Meaning, would he stay when she stripped away all her lies and showed him the truth? Aaron thought about Grace sleeping upstairs, about the quiet life he'd built, about all the violence he'd left behind. But he also thought about those men in the SUVs and what they'd do if they found Rosie. He said yes. He would stay. Rosie thanked him, but Aaron told her not to thank him yet. First, they needed a plan, and she needed to tell him everything about this network, so he could make sure they didn't come after Grace when this was over. Aaron told Rosie to get some sleep. Tomorrow they would plan, and the next day they would go to her office and end this. Morning came, and Aaron was already awake. He'd slept on the floor by the door like he always did. Grace came downstairs ready for school, but Aaron told her she was staying home today. She asked why. He said because he said so. Grace knew better than to argue when he used that voice. Rosie woke up and Aaron gave her coffee. Grace asked if Rosie was Daddy's girlfriend. Rosie said no, she was his boss. Grace accepted that and went to make cereal. After Grace ate, Aaron set her up with books and her tablet. He told her to stay inside and not answer the door for anyone. If he told her to hide, she needed to go to her special spot under the floor. Then Aaron took Rosie into his office and closed the door. He told her to explain everything about her office building, the layout, the security, all of it. Rosie drew a map on paper. Her office was on the 30th floor. The elevator needed a key card. The doors needed a key card. Cameras were everywhere. And after last night, the network would definitely be watching. Aaron asked about the biometric system. Rosie said it needed her fingerprint and eye scan at the same time. You couldn't fake it. Aaron came up with a plan. Rosie was still the CEO as far as anyone knew. She'd survived a car accident. She needed to come back to work and act normally. Aaron would go with her as her boyfriend. She was shaken up from the accident and didn't want to be alone. That would get him into the building without raising alarms. Rosie thought about it and admitted it wasn't a terrible idea. They would go tomorrow night when fewer people were around. Rosie would tell security she needed files for a morning meeting. Aaron would come for moral support. They'd upload the evidence and get out. Rosie asked what would happen after. When the evidence went public, the network would come after her even harder. Aaron said he knew people who could make her disappear if she needed to. They spent the whole day planning. Aaron made Rosie go through every detail, every camera, every guard, every exit. By evening, they had a plan. Not great, but it was something. Aaron made pasta for dinner. Grace helped him cook. Rosie watched them, and Aaron saw something sad in her face, like she was seeing something she'd never have herself. After dinner, Aaron put Grace to bed. He read her a story, and she fell asleep halfway through. When he came back downstairs, Rosie was looking at pictures of Grace on the wall. Rosie asked about Grace's mom. Aaron said she was gone. Just him and Grace now. Rosie said she was sorry, but Aaron told her not to be. They were doing okay. Then Rosie asked why Aaron was really helping her. He didn't know her anything. Aaron explained what he used to do. He killed people. Bad people, supposedly. For a long time, he told himself it was necessary, that he was making the world safer. But it also turned him into something he didn't like. Something he didn't want Grace to see. When Grace was born, Aaron realized he couldn't keep doing that work and be her father. So he left, changed his name, disappeared. Rosie said, but now he was going back to that life. Aaron said no, he wasn't going back. He was just using what he knew to help someone who was actually trying to make the world better. There was a difference. At least he hoped so. Rosie asked if he was scared about tomorrow. Aaron said, always. Fear kept you sharp. Rosie said she was terrified. Aaron said good. That meant she was smart. Then Rosie asked what would happen to Grace if things went wrong tomorrow. If they got caught. Aaron's whole body went tense. He said that wasn't going to happen. Rosie pushed and said, but what if it did? Aaron cut her off and said it wouldn't, because he wouldn't let it. Grace was the only thing that mattered, and he'd burn the whole building down before he let anything happen to her. Rosie believed him. They said goodnight. Aaron checked the security system and then lay down by the door with his gun under the couch where he could reach it fast. He barely slept. Every sound made him tense up, but nothing came. The night passed quietly. In the morning, they started getting ready. Aaron found clothes for Rosie from stuff Grace's mom had left. A blouse and slacks. They didn't fit perfect, but they worked. Rosie did her hair and makeup. When she was done, she looked like a CEO again, confident and in control, even though her hands were shaking. Aaron changed into his nicest clothes, a button-down and dark jeans. He looked like a regular guy, nobody important. He called his neighbor, our Mrs. Chun, and asked if she could watch Grace tonight. Mrs. Chun said of course, and came to pick Grace up around 6. Grace was excited because Mrs. Chun had a cat and let her stay up late. Aaron knelt and hugged Grace tight, maybe too tight. She complained he was squishing her. He made her promise to be good and reminded her that if anyone asked about him or Miss Smith, she didn't know anything. Grace repeated it back. He told her he'd see her tomorrow morning. She made him promise. He promised. Mrs. Chun took Grace, and Aaron watched until the car disappeared. Then he turned to Rosie and asked if she was ready. She said no, but let's do it anyway. They got in Aaron's truck and drove into the city. It took an hour. The whole time, Rosie went over the plan, what she'd say to security, how they'd move through the building, where the cameras were. Aaron listened, but he was also watching the mirrors for anyone following them. He didn't see anything, but that didn't mean they weren't there. When they got to the Smith Tech building, Aaron parked a block away, not in the company garage. He wanted the truck somewhere he could reach fast if things went bad. They walked to the building holding hands. Playing the part, Rosie leaned on Aaron a little like she was still recovering, which she was. The lobby was huge, all glass and steel. A security guard named James sat at the desk. He looked up and said he heard about Rosie's accident and asked if she was okay. Rosie said she was fine, just shaken. She needed to grab files from her office for a meeting tomorrow. James looked at Aaron. Rosie introduced him as her boyfriend. She asked him to come because she was still nervous after the accident. James nodded and gave them visitor badges. They walked to the elevator. When the doors closed, Rosie let out a breath. Aaron told her not to celebrate yet. The elevator climbed 30 floors. Aaron watched the numbers with his hand in his pocket with a small knife. Not a gun, too risky, but enough to do damage if needed. The doors opened. Rosie's office was at the end of a long, dark hallway. Only emergency lights were on. They walked down and Rosie unlocked her office. Inside was a big desk, expensive furniture, view of the whole city. Rosie went straight to her computer and turned it on. A prompt asked for biometric verification. She put her thumb on the scanner and leaned forward for the eye scan. The computer beeped and said access granted. Rosie pulled out the encrypted drive from her purse and plugged it in. She started uploading. Aaron stood by the door, watching the hallway. The building was too quiet. His instincts were screaming at him that something was wrong. He asked how long. Rosie said 5 minutes. Aaron told her to make it faster. She said she couldn't because of the encryption. Then Aaron heard something. A soft footstep on carpet. He looked down the hallway. Nothing. But he definitely heard it. He told Rosie they needed to go now. She said it wasn't done. He said now anyway. Suddenly, all the lights in the hallway came on at once. Blinding bright. Aaron saw 4 men in suits walking toward the office. Not running. Just walking. Like they had all the time in the world. Because they knew Aaron and Rosie were trapped. Aaron looked back at the computer. The upload was at 87%. He asked if Rosie could finish it remotely. She said no, it had to be from this computer. Aaron said then we wait. He pulled out his knife. 4 men. 1 knife. Bad odds. But he'd worked with worse. The men stopped outside the office door. The oldest one smiled. Gray hair. Expensive suit. He looked like a businessman, but Aaron knew better. The man spoke through the glass. He said, Miss Smith, we need to talk. Rosie went pale. She whispered that it was Victor. He was running the whole network. Victor tried the door. It was locked. He sighed and said he didn't want to break the expensive glass. He asked Rosie to open the door so they could discuss this like adults. Rosie whispered the upload was at 93%. Aaron looked at Victor through the glass. Then he looked at the 3 men with him. They all had guns under their jackets. Aaron could see the bulges. Victor kept talking. He said Rosie had been very clever, fooling them for 2 years. But it was over now. If she gave him the drive, he'd let her walk away. She could disappear. Start over. He'd even let her boyfriend go. Rosie didn't answer. The upload hit 96%. Victor's smile faded. He said he was trying to be reasonable. But if she didn't open that door, things would get messy. Aaron looked around the office. Floor-to-ceiling windows behind the desk. 30 stories up. 1 door in. No other exits. The upload hit 98%. Victor nodded to one of his men. The man pulled out his gun and aimed it at the glass door. Not to shoot through. To break it. Aaron moved fast. He grabbed Rosie's desk chair and threw it at the window behind them. The glass was thick, but the chair hit hard. Cracks spread across the surface. The gunshot was loud. The office door exploded inward. Glass everywhere. 99%. Aaron picked up a heavy lamp and swung it at the cracked window. The glass shattered outward. Wind rushed in. They were 30 stories up. Nothing but air below. The computer beeped. Upload complete. Rosie yanked the drive out and shoved it in her pocket. Victor's men were coming through the broken door. Aaron grabbed Rosie and pulled her toward the broken window. She screamed and asked what he was doing. He said, trust me. Then he jumped. They fell through the night air. Rosie was screaming. Aaron wrapped his arms around her and twisted their bodies. 10 feet down, they hit the window washing platform. Aaron had seen it earlier, knew it was there. They crashed onto the metal platform hard. Aaron felt something in his shoulder pop, but they were alive. Above them, Victor leaned out the window, gun in hand. He fired. Bullets sparked off the metal platform. Aaron found the control panel and hit the button. The platform started lowering. More gunshots. One hit the cable. The platform jerked and tilted. Rosie grabbed onto Aaron. They were swinging 30 stories up with bullets flying. Aaron looked down. 25 stories. 20. 15. The cable snapped. They dropped. Aaron had maybe 2 seconds. He saw an office window coming up fast. He pulled Rosie close and turned his back toward it. They crashed through the glass. rolled across a desk. Papers and computer monitors flew everywhere. They hit the floor hard. Aaron's whole body was screaming in pain, but he forced himself up. Ose was bleeding from a cut on her forehead, but she was moving. That W is good. They were on the 15th floor. Office workers were staring at them in shock. Someone was already calling the cops. Aaron grabbed Rosie's hand and ran. Out of the office. Down the hallway. He kicked open the stairwell door, and they started running due WN 15 floors. Their footsteps echoed in the concrete shaft. Behind them, Aaron heard the stairwell door burst open again. Victor's men were coming. Aaron and Rosie hit the ground floor. Aaron shoved to the emergency exit. Alarms started blaring. They ran through the alley. Aaron's truck was 1 block over. They ran the whole way. Aaron threw Rosie into the passenger seat and started the engine. Tires screamed as he pulled out. In the mirror, he saw Victor's men running out of the alley. Too late. Aaron drove fast through the city, took random turns, made sure nobody was following. After 20 minutes, he was sure they were clear. Rosie was breathing hard, blood running down her face. But she was smiling. She pulled the drive from her pocket. She said they did it. The evidence was uploaded. It was done. Aaron asked if she was sure. Rosie checked her phone. The files were already going live, being downloaded by journalists and law enforcement all over the world. The network was finished. Aaron finally let himself breathe. They'd actually pulled it off. But it wasn't over yet. Victor was still out there, and now he'd be desperate. Aaron drove toward his cabin. They needed to get Grace and disappear. All 3 of them, at least until the dust settled. Rosie was quiet for a long time. Then she said she was sorry for dragging Aaron into this, for putting Grace in danger. Aaron said she didn't drag him anywhere. He made his choice, and he'd make it again. Rosie reached over and took his hand. She didn't say anything else. She didn't need to. They drove through the night toward home. If you're listening right now, help me prove something wrong. My dad said I wouldn't even reach 1,000 subscribers, but I believe stories like this deserve to be heard. Help me show him that these tales matter. Please subscribe to this channel, and let's keep breathing life into stories that were never meant to stay silent. Now let's continue. Aaron and Rosie got back to the cabin around midnight. The lights were off. Everything looked normal, but Aaron's instincts were screaming that something was wrong. He told Rosie to stay in the truck. She started to argue, but stopped when she saw his face. Aaron pulled his gun from under the seat and got out. He moved quiet toward the cabin. The quiet door was unlocked. Aaron never left it unlocked. He pushed it open slowly. Inside was dark. Too dark. Someone had unscrewed the light bulbs. Aaron stepped inside. His eyes adjusted to darkness. The living room was torn apart. Couch cushions thrown everywhere. Drawers pulled out. Someone had searched the place. Aaron's heart was pounding. He moved up the stairs toward Grace's room. Each step felt like it took forever. Grace's door was open. Aaron looked inside. Her bed was empty. The world stopped. Aaron's hands started shaking. He turned on the light. Grace's room was destroyed. Her clothes pulled from the drawers. Her toys were scattered. But no Grace. Aaron ran back downstairs. He checked every room. The bathroom, the kitchen, the closets. Nothing. He ran outside. Rosie was still in the truck. Aaron yanked open her door and asked where Mrs. Chun lived. Rosie said she didn't know. Aaron swore and pulled out his phone. He called Mrs. Chun. It rang 5 times. 6. 7. Then she answered. Her voice was shaky. Aaron asked where Grace was. Mrs. Chun started crying. She said men came to her house. They had guns. They took Grace. They said if Mrs. Chun called the police, they'd kill the girl. Mrs. Chun was so sorry. She was so sorry. Aaron felt something inside him break. Something that had been holding back years of violence. It shattered completely. He asked Mrs. Chun what the men looked like. She described them. 3 men. One had gray hair. Victor. Aaron hung up. He stood there in the dark. His daughter was gone, taken by the same animals who tried to kill Rosie. Rosie got out of the truck. She asked what happened. Aaron told her. Rosie went pale. She said, "Oh God, this was her fault. This was all her fault." Aaron didn't answer. He was already thinking, already planning. Victor had grace, which meant Victor wanted something. He didn't take her to kill her. He took her as leverage. Aaron's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Victor's voice came through, smooth and calm. He said, "Hello, Aaron." Or should I say Agan T. Rios? "Yes, we know who you really are. Did you think you could disappear forever?" Aaron asked where Grace was. Victor said she was safe. For now. Sleeping, actually. She was a sweet girl. It would be a shame if something happened to her. Aaron's grip on the phone was so tight it started to crack. He asked what Victor wanted. Victor said it was simple. The evidence was out there now. He couldn't stop that. But Miss Smith was still alive. She was a star witness. Without her testimony, the case against his network would be much weaker. So here's the deal. Bring him Rosie Smith. In exchange, he'd give Aaron his daughter back. Aaron asked how he knew Aaron wouldn't just kill him. Victor laughed. He said that if anything happened to him, his men had orders to kill Grace immediately. She was in a safe location with 2 armed guards. If Victor didn't check in every hour, she died. Victor gave Aaron an address. An abandoned warehouse by the docks. He had until sunrise. That was 4 hours. If Aaron didn't show up with Rosie, Grace would disappear forever. Then Victor hung up. Aaron stood there holding the phone. Rosie was staring at him. She said, "Aaron, I'm so sorry. I'll go. I'll turn myself in. Just get Grace back." Aaron finally looked at her. His eyes were cold, empty, like all the humanity had drained out. Said no. Rosie blinked. "What?" Aaron said he wasn't trading her for Grace, because Victor would kill them both anyway. That's how people like Victor operated. No witnesses. No loose ends. Rosie said, "Then what do we do?" Aaron said we go get Grace. And we kill everyone who took her. For the next 2 hours, Aaron prepared. He went to a hidden space under Grace's floor and pulled out things he'd hoped he'd never need again. Guns. Real ones. Not the small pistol he kept for home protection. Combat rifles. Body armor. Flash grenades. All the tools of his old trade. He cleaned and loaded each weapon with mechanical precision. His face showed nothing. No anger. No fear. Just cold focus. Rosie watched him work. She asked if he had a plan. Aaron said yes. Victor expected them to come through the front, begging, desperate, so they wouldn't do that. They'd come in through the roof, fast and hard. Take out the guards before they knew what was happening. Get Grace and go. Rosie said there were probably a dozen men there, maybe more. Aaron said he'd handle worse. Rosie was quiet for a moment. Then she said she was coming with him. Aaron said no. Too dangerous. Rosie said she didn't care. Grace was taken because of her. She wasn't going to sit here while Aaron risked his life. Aaron looked at her, really looked at her, and saw that she meant it. He asked if she knew how to shoot. Rosie said no. Aaron handed her a pistol and spent 10 minutes teaching her the basics. Point and squeeze. Don't pull. Keep both eyes open. Aim for center mass. Rosie practiced with an empty gun. Her hands were shaking, but she was focused. Aaron saw something in her eyes. Something hard. The same thing he'd seen in the mirror for years. They got in the truck and drove toward the city. Neither of them talked. There was nothing to say. The warehouse was exactly what Aaron expected. Old brick building right on the water. Most of the windows were broken. 2 black SUVs parked outside. Probably 6 to 8 men inside. Maybe more. Aaron parked 3 blocks away. They got out and moved through the shadows. Aaron was carrying a rifle and had 2 pistols strapped to his chest. Rosie had the pistol he'd given her. They reached the warehouse, and Aaron found a fire esca pea on the side of the building. They climbed up to the roof. Aaron moved to a skylight and looked down. Inside the warehouse was open space. Concrete floors, A&O machinery. And in the center was Grace. She was sitting in a chair, not tied up, just sitting there with her tablet in her lap. Two men stood nearby watching her. Grace looked calm. Too calm, like she didn't understand what was happening. Aaron counted heads. 8 men total. 2 with Grace. 3 near the main entrance. There are more scattered around the warehouse. All of them armed. Victor was there too, standing near Grace, checking his watch, waiting. Aaron looked at Rosie. He explained the plan in whispers. He'd drop in through the skylight, take out the 2 guards near Grace first. That would create chaos. Rosie would shoot out the lights from up here. In the dark, Aaron would have the advantage. Rosie asked what if it didn't work. Aaron said then improvise. He moved to the skylight and slowly opened it. The hinges creaked a little, but not enough to alert Anion Bello. Aaron positioned himself right above the 2 guards near Grace. He looked at Rosie and held up 3 fingers. 3, 2, 1. He dropped. Aaron fell 15 feet and landed on the first guard. The man went down hard. Aaron rolled and came up shooting. The second guard reached for his gun, but Aaron was faster. 2S, H, OTS. Center mass. The guard dropped. Rosie shot out the overhead lights. The warehouse plunged into darkness. Gunfire erupted. Muzzle flashes lit up the dark like lightning. Aaron grabbed Grace and pulled her behind a concrete pillar. She was crying now. Scared. Aaron told her it's okay, baby. Daddy's here. Bullets were hitting the pillar. Chunks of concrete exploded. Aaron leaned out and fired. One of Victor's men went down. Then another. Victor was yelling orders, telling his men to spread out, find them, kill them. Aaron moved to the dark like a ghost. He knew how to do this. Had done it 100 times before. He took out another guard. Then another. Each shot precise. Efficient. Above him, Rosie was shooting too. She hit one of the men near the entrance. Not a kill shot, but enough to drop him. Vic! Tor was trying to run, heading for the back exit. Aaron lined up the shot. He could end this right now. Put a bullet in Victor's head. But then Grace screamed. One of the guards had circled around and found her. He grabbed and put a gun to her head. Everything stopped. The guard yelled that everyone needed to drop their weapons or the girl died. Aaron froze. His rifle would die still aimed at Victor, but his eyes were on Grace. The gun pressed against the plebe. Victor smiled. He walked back toward them. He said this was over. Aaron had lost. Aaron lowered his rifle. Victor told him to kick it away. Aaron did. Victor said good. Now Miss Smith needed to come down, and they'd all have a conversation about how this would end. Rosie appeared at the top of the fire escape stairs. Her hands were up, no gun visible. Victor nodded. He said excellent. Now everyone could be reasonable. Aaron looked at Grace. She was terrified, tears running down her face. The guard's gun was still pressed against her head. Victor walked closer to Aaron. He said he respected Aaron. Really, he did. They were the same kind of man. Soldiers. Just fighting for different causes. But this didn't have to end badly. Give him Rosie. Walk away with Grace. Live to fight another day. Aaron asked what guarantee he had. Victor said his word. Aaron looked him in the eye. Then Aaron said okay. Victor smiled. Smart choice. Aaron turned to Rosie. She was coming down the stairs. She looked at Aaron and nodded, ready to sacrifice herself. But Aaron wasn't looking at Rosie. He was looking at Grace. And Grace was looking back at him. And in that moment, something passed between them. Something only a father and daughter would understand. Grace went completely limp. Just dropped as her bones had turned to ash. The guard wasn't expecting it. He fumbled trying to hold her up. Aaron moved. He pulled the pistol from his ankle holster and shot the guard in the face. Before anyone could react, Aaron grabbed Grace and rolled behind cover. Rosie pulled her own pistol from behind her back and shot the guard nearest to her. Chaos erupted again. Gunfire everywhere. Aaron pushed Grace toward the wall. He told her to run. Get outside. Don't stop. Grace ran. Aaron laid down cover fire. Rosie was shooting too. The remaining guards were panicking. Caught between them, Victor tried to run again. Aaron chased him. Through the warehouse. Out the back door. Into the alley. Victor was fast for an old man, but Aaron was faster. He Khaled Victor from behind. They hit the pavement hard. Victor tried to pull a knife, but Aaron caught his wrist. They struggled, fighting in the dirty alley. Aaron was stronger. He twisted Victor's arm until something cracked. Victor screamed. The knife fell. Aaron picked it up. He pressed it against Victor's throat. Victor looked up at him. He wasn't smiling anymore. He said, "Do it. Kill me. But it won't change anything. The network is bigger than me. Someone else will take my place." Aaron pressed the knife harder. He wanted to do it. Wanted to make Victor pay for taking his daughter. For threatening her. But then he heard Grace calling for him. "Daddy." She sounded scared. Aaron looked back. Grace was standing at the alley entrance with Rosie. Both of them safe. Both alive. Aaron looked back at Victor. He said, "You're right. Killing you won't change anything." Then Aaron punched Victor in the face. Once. Twice. 3 times. Until Victor stopped moving. Not dead. Just unconscious. Aaron stood up. Police sirens were getting closer. Someone had called the cops. That was good. Let them deal with Victor. Aaron walked to Grace and picked her up. She wrapped her arms around his neck and wouldn't let go. He held her tight. So tight. He told her he was sorry. So sorry. Grace said it was okay. She knew he'd come. Rosie touched Aaron's shoulder. She said they needed to go. The cops would have questions. Questions Aaron probably couldn't answer. They walked to the truck and drove away. Behind them, the sirens got louder. Red, green, and blue lights filled the street. But Aaron didn't look back. He just drove. Grace fell asleep in the back seat, exhausted. Rosie sat next to Aaron. Neither of them talked. Finally, Rosie asked what happens now. Aaron said he didn't know. The evidence was out there. Victor's network was falling apart, but there would be others. There were always others. Rosie said she'd have to testify, face trials, probably be in witness protection for years. Aaron said probably. Rosie asked if he'd come with her, into witness protection. Aaron looked at Grace, sleeping in the mirror. He said no. He couldn't do that to her. Couldn't uproot her life again. She needed stability, a normal childhood. Rosie looked sad, but she nodded. She understood. They drove back to the cabin. The sun was starting to come up. Orange light spreading across the sky. A's Ron carried Grace inside and put her in bed. She didn't wake up. He kissed her forehead and closed the door. When he came back downstairs, Rosie was waiting. She said she'd be leaving in a few hours. The FBI would want to debrief her, start the whole process. Aaron said okay. Rosie stepped closer to him. She said she didn't know how to thank him. He'd saved her life, multiple times, risked everything for her. Aaron said she didn't need to thank him. Rosie said still, she was grateful, and she'd never forget him. Then she kissed him, just once, soft and quick. When she pulled back, her eyes were wet. She said goodbye, Aaron. He said goodbye, E. And that was it. She walked out the door, got in her car, and drove away. Aaron stood there for a long time, just watching the sun come up. He was done with all of it. No more running, no more hiding, no more violence. He was just Aaron now, just a dad raising his daughter. And that was enough. 3 months went by. Aaron and Grace settled back into their routine. School, soccer practice, homework, Normal life. Rosie's evidence had worked. Victor's network was destroyed. Dozens of arrests happened all over the world. The news covered it for weeks. Rosie became famous. The whistleblower who took down a criminal empire. Aaron watched the news stories with mixed feelings. He was glad Rosie was safe. Glad she'd succeeded. But he also knew what that kind of fame cost. She'd never have a normal life again. Grace didn't ask many questions about that night. Aaron had told her there were bad men after Miss Smith, and they'd helped her get away. That was all she needed to know. Kids were good at accepting simple explanations and moving on. But Aaron knew she remembered more than she let on. Sometimes he'd catch her looking at him with questions in her eyes. Questions she was too young to ask. One day in January, Aaron got a letter. No return address. Just his name and the cabin address written in neat handwriting. Inside was a single piece of paper. Rosie had written him a message. She said she was safe, living under a new name in a new city. The trials were over. Victor and most of his network were in prison. She'd done what she set out to do, but she also said she thought about him and Grace every day, wondered how they were, if Grace was doing okay, if Aaron had found peace. She said she understood why he couldn't come with her. He'd made the right choice. Grace needed him, and Aaron needed to be himself, not hiding anymore, not pretending. At the end of the letter, she wrote one last thing. Thank you for staying. Even when I stripped away all my lies and showed you who I really was, you stayed, and that meant everything. Aaron read the letter 3 times. Then he folded it carefully and put it in a drawer. He didn't write back. There was nothing to say. They both moved on. Both found what they needed. But that night, Aaron sat down with Grace after dinner. She was drawing pictures at the kitchen table. Dragons and princesses and castles. Aaron said he wanted to talk to her about something important. Grace put down her crayons and looked at him. Aaron took a breath. He said he'd been lying to her. Not about everything, but about some things. About who he used to be before she was born. Grace asked what he meant. Aaron said that before he was her dad, he'd done dangerous work. He'd hurt people, bad people, but still, he'd been someone she wouldn't be proud of. Grace was quiet. Then she said, but you're not that person anymore. Aaron said no. He wasn't. Because of her. She'd made him want to be better. Grace thought about this. Then she asked if he was sorry. Aaron said yes. He was sorry for a lot of things. But he wasn't sorry for protecting her, or for helping Miss Smith. Those were the right things to do. Grace nodded. She said, okay, Daddy. Just like that. Okay. No judgment. No fear. Just acceptance. Aaron felt something loosen in his chest. Something he'd been carrying for years. The weight of secrets. Of hiding. He asked Grace if she had any questions. She asked if the bad men would come back. Aaron said no. They were gone. She asked if Miss Smith was okay. Aaron said yes. She was safe. Grace said that was good. She liked Miss Smith. Then she went back to her drawing. Aaron watched her for a moment. His daughter. So strong. So resilient. Better than he'd ever been. He stood up and kissed the top of her head. Then he went outside the porch. The night was cold. Stars everywhere. Aaron stood there breathing in the clean air. For the first time in 5 years, he felt like he could really breathe, like the weight was finally gone. He wasn't running anymore, wasn't hiding. He was just Aaron, just a dad. And Grace knew the truth. Maybe not all of it, but enough. The next morning, Aaron made breakfast. Pancakes. Grace's favorite. They ate together and talked about her school project, about her friend's birthday party next week. Normal things. After breakfast, Aaron drove Grace to school. He walked her to the door like he always did. She hugged him goodbye and ran inside. Aaron stood there watching her go. Then he got back in his truck. He had work to do today. Real work. He'd gotten a job at the hardware store in town. Nothing fancy. Just helping customers and stocking shelves. but it was honest work, and it paid enough. This story teaches us that true courage isn't just about physical bravery in dangerous situations, but about the strength to be honest and vulnerable with the people who matter most. Aaron learned that running from his past and hiding behind lies, even protect his daughter, only created more walls between them, while Rosie discovered that stripping away her carefully constructed masks and asking for help wasn't weakness but strength. The story shows that real change happens when we stop pretending to be someone we're not and start trusting others with our truth. It also reminds us that protecting the people we love sometimes means making hard choices and taking risks, but it's equally important to know when to stop fighting and simply be present in the peaceful moments. Most importantly, the story demonstrates that redemption is possible for anyone willing to turn away from their past mistakes and build something better, and that the most valuable thing we can offer someone is our presence and loyalty, especially when they're at their most vulnerable and stripped of all pretense. So here's the real question. Did you subscribe yet? Thousands of people will listen to this story and won't subscribe. Please don't be that person. If you're listening right now, help me prove something wrong. My dad said I wouldn't even reach 1,000 subscribers, but I believe stories like this deserve to be heard. Help me show him that these tales matter. Please subscribe to this channel, and let's keep breathing life into stories that were never meant to stay silent. And here's what I need to know. Do you want part 2?